Hello, everyone. It is Sunday night, and we are coming to you live from Bat City Comic Professionals in Bradenton, Florida, to help you wind down your weekend. As always, I am your host, Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to talk to you about the 1 million books that released this week from the indie and small press universe of comics. It is going to be awesome, but before we do that, we're going to start with our wine. How else are we going to wind down our weekend? And I am super duper duper excited for this week's wine. I'm so happy because we have the Bride of Frankenstein wine. I'm so excited. Okay, so 19 Crimes does the horror wines, which is Snoop Dogg's wine. They do it, the horror wines, and last year they had a Frankenstein, and we were trying to find the Bride, and we hadn't been able to find it yet, and our awesome friends Mike and Ash went out and found it and brought it to us yesterday, and so I'm so excited. This is my happy face to have the Bride, because I just really want the bottle to save with my Frankenstein bottle. I'm so happy. So we're going to try it. And it is a red wine. It's just a red blend, so it's probably going to be a little on the sweeter side. It does say it's like 3 in on like the light to bold spectrum, so it's going to be a little on the lighter side. It does say it's got like some notes of chocolate, but it does have a smooth, like, fruity kind of sensation at the end. So we're going to see just how sweet that is. But also, I just have to read you the description first, because I love the Bride of Frankenstein, and I love that they have cute little, like, words for it. So it's like, lightning may have brought the bride to life, but it's her boldness that lights up a room. Raise a glass and celebrate this leading lady of horror cinema, an icon in her own right. I'm so excited. And there's a QR code where you're supposed to, like, bring her to life, and I don't know what that means, but if the Bride of Frankenstein, like, magically appeared in my house, I'd be okay with that. So, anyway, cheers to Mike and Ash and the Bride of Frankenstein. It's not as sweet as I thought it was going to be. It is heavier on the chocolatey notes than.
It's good.
And that's like just the 19 Crimes wines are so easy to drink though. But yeah, no, that is good. It does have like that rich flavor to it in that chocolatey side, but it's oh my gosh, it's really not that sweet. Considering how many times the description says it's going to be sweet and fruity, it's actually not really all that sweet or fruity. So anyway, I'm going to drink this, and I'm going to be very excited about it. And if you're hanging out with us, let us know in the comments. If you're watching live on Facebook, or if you're watching this later on YouTube, we always want to know what people are reading and what they're enjoying right now. So please let us know. I'm going to slide this over, and I wasn't kidding when I started off, we have 1 million books to talk about today. Here's just like, that's what I read. You can't even see it when it's that close. See, that's how many there is. There's about 60 books here. I read them all today, so don't let your to-be read pile scare you. You can defeat it. You can take it down. I read 58 books today, I think. 57, because I put one that I wasn't good. I didn't make it to one. Apologies in advance to the one book that I didn't make it to. So 57 books today. And I'm going to tell you about all of them. So like strap in, get comfy. But before I do that, I want to like talk about like the good and the bad of the week, I guess I should say. So we'll start with the good because it makes you feel good. But we celebrated our 2nd anniversary local comic shop day and our 6th year of being Bat City all day yesterday at the shop. And there were so many of you that came out. It was amazing, especially with how much rain there was in the morning. I want to give a super special shout out to all of our outdoor vendors who still came on time and set up tents, in which the process we all got soaked doing, and then they like sat in their tents and actually like displayed their wares. And so thank you to Matt Weber and to Joy and her journals, like, oh, so cool. And to Pops, aka Jimmy Sweeney and Stacy Sweeney, for coming out and making burgers and hot dogs for everybody. Oh my gosh. And to Grandma for helping make all the patties in advance. And then thank you to Nick Lima for bringing out his art. Thank you for Anthony Pizzo, who was doing free sketches for everybody all day. Thanks to Adrian Prudhomme for coming out, and for setting up tents and chairs and everything, while it was flooding. It was amazing. And thank you to all of our volunteers, Barrett, Santiago, Alex, and Mike, and Gavin, for just being here all day and helping make sure the experience went well. It was so smooth because of all of you. And thank you for all the customers being understanding for the fact that sidewalk sale suddenly became inside classroom sale. But I hope that everybody got some really cool, amazing things for their digs. And we are so thankful to get to celebrate and just enjoy having that community with all of you. And speaking of that community, this is the bad, but also the good, I guess, wrapped together. Yesterday, one of the big things that we wanted to do was have people bring items for donation for local people who had in our community who have lost a lot or have lost everything because of Hurricane Helene. And you all, as always, Bat Fam showed up so much. We have boxes of blankets at this point to take. We have boxes and boxes of food. We have boxes and buckets and so much cleaning supplies. And we had somebody who brought an entire trash bag full of gently used new stuffies for kids, all these just adorable stuffed animals. Thank you so much for who brought that. We have clothes. We have so much to take. And so we have a couple of Bat Fam local families that are specifically going to benefit from that lost their homes and their things. But we are also going to be helping to benefit to the island, because Anna Maria Island and all of its extent has just been completely devastated. And if you are looking to help specifically with the island, you can actually drop off donations to O'Bricks downtown Bradenton, and they are actually boating out to the island to drop off things at the Center of Anna Maria Island, which is a nonprofit organization which is kind of hosting all of the donations and giving that's going out onto the island. And if you go to the Center of Anna Maria Island's website, there is actually a donation page on there for the actual financial givings that if you want to give. We do have a QR code for that hanging in our store as well. So if you come anytime this week, that will be up to help give financially to the people on Anna Maria Island who may have lost anything, things, their homes, their businesses, things like that. So, we're very fortunate that we were able to be okay here at Bat City, but we want to continue to help all of our community because that's what we're all here for. We want to come together and help out as we can. I know there's a lot of people who are looking for assistance cleaning and putting things back together. So if you need somebody that you're trying to connect with for supplies or anything like that, please let us know. We can always help you with that. And as always, if you don't know, please do not go out onto the island if you are not helping. They're trying to keep people who are just going to see what the wreckage looks like off the island as much as possible, just because they are having to bulldoze and things. So please don't just go out there to take pictures and to see what it looks like, but go out there and pick up a rag and some cleaning supplies and help out if you've got time. And thank you to everybody who donated already to help. It's incredible, and it just shows once again how many of you are the superheroes, and we love you guys. That said, I'm going to take another drink of this wine, and then I'm going to jump into the 60 books that I'm going to tell you about. Again, I warned you in advance that there's a lot of books, so it's on you from here on out. We are going to kick it off with Saga issue 69 from Image Comics and the fantastically hilarious imagery of their cover that they gave us to go with that. Fiona is always making great covers for Saga, and I love it so much. In this issue, we actually deal with a lot. If you haven't ever read Saga, it is about a family that is made up of just all kinds of different people from different sides of a war, essentially. A mother and a father who met each other from opposite, while in prison and working the prison, essentially, for a warring moon and planet. And their story is told by their daughter, who is still with a lot of prejudices. But at this point, she and her adopted brother are kind of going through their awkward, like, soon-to-be teenage years. You know, she's 12. Brobot is a little bit younger, and they are just not dealing with things very well. And in this issue specifically, Hazel is having to struggle with the fact that, like, she is in that awkward stage, and so she knows that she's very, very selfish at this moment, and she kind of just wants everybody to pay attention to her. And she's kind of offended by the fact that her brother is actually going through major things and needs some actual help. And meanwhile, Ilana, her mother, is also dealing with the fact that, like, she feels like she's messing up these kids, even though she's trying her hardest to keep them alive in a war. We are very far into this story, and it just honestly keeps giving it as a saga because of exactly the fact that it is, in fact, a saga. Like, there's so much to this world that just keeps coming for this poor family. And so hopefully someday they get a happy ending. I don't know. We've still got like another 40 issues of this, because I think it's going to be 110 issues total, because he did say he was going to double it at 55. And so let's just hope that somewhere in there is happiness, because they have never had it. Kaya, issue 21, also from Image Comics. This is one of the most all-ages friendly books on the shelf, in that it does give you some action and adventure that is kid-friendly, and it does follow kid protagonist, but it still tells a really awesome Deep Lord story for adults. And if you haven't jumped in, Kaya is about a young girl who once believed herself to be the chosen one, only to find out that she was not, and that her younger brother was. And now, as her entire culture has been wiped out, she has been trying to take her brother to the place where the gods will train him to use his magic to save the world. But as they travel this dark and dangerous dragon road, everything that can go wrong does go wrong, and it just kind of keeps getting worse and worse. And now, at this point, Kaya and her brother Jin are being led possibly astray by a trickster demigod, I guess I should say, who bears a striking resemblance to Jin in a way that he's starting to really take notice to. But are they going to make it out of the disastrous place that he's leading them to, or are things just going to get worse for our two heroes? They will always find out in the next issue. This definitely keeps you following the bouncing ball in the most fun way. And again, there are trade paperbacks, because we're on issue 21, so there's trade paperbacks for the first 3 arcs. And if you haven't read it yet, I say grab a trade paperback and just find how beautiful the art in the world is, because it is great. Knights, issue 11 from Image Comics. And this is, as I always call it, a Miyazaki story if it was a modern American version of Miyazaki. And this issue actually gives us a little anthology. We're kind of taking a break from the main story at this point to give you a little bit more information about each of our characters, but also about characters in the world, and kind of give us some more universe building, which this world has a really cool, weird demon meets human Florida of a possible future. But we get to see a little bit about, like, what Gray, our vampire, does when her boyfriend is asleep at night, and maybe what Matt, our skeleton friend, does in the dark. As he's prepping to leave, which is something that's happening in the main plot. I love this story, which is about some ruffian kids in the neighborhood who come into a Blockbuster and attack it. And the guys that are doing inventory are just trying to, like, make it through the night. Absolutely hilarious. We get to see just little bits and pieces of, like, what it might have been like for different characters in the story, or people surrounding those characters as the time goes on. So there's about 5 or 6 little mini one-shots in here. It's a good way to get to know more about the characters, but not if you don't already know the characters a little bit. Like, you at least need to have, like, maybe a little understanding of issue 1 to kind of know what's going on in the world enough to get, like, what all of these characters are up to, with the exception of the Blockbuster story. I feel like the Blockbuster story is the universal jump-in point for everybody. But honestly, check it out. This one, I will say, this is one of those series where in the early parts of the series, I was kind of like, where is this going? And then, like, it kind of had a dip point, and I was like, ooh, I don't know if they're going to be able to pull off what they're trying to do. And now, as we've gotten to these later issues, I'm like, this has gotten really, really good, and we need to definitely pull it up. like, again, for those who may have, like, stopped reading or hadn't picked it up yet. And it has recently become one of those books that people are coming in and asking for, which I'm happy to see. Thundercats, issue 8 from Dynamite. If you are a fan of the Thundercats cartoon, this is a great place for you. If you have kids who are looking for something that is written by and kind of art style more in line with, like, more adult comics, but you want them to stay a little bit more younger, like, in the conversations, I guess, that they have. These Dynamite animated series turned comics are actually really good for that. And this one follows the Thundercats, who have had to leave Thundera, much like in the original cartoon. Had to leave Thundera because there's been an attack on it, and now they are on what they are calling the Third Earth, trying to rebuild a kingdom for themselves. And in this issue, Tigra is trying to fix the, like, special door that leads to their sacred artifacts home, and he ends up getting pulled into that, and not in the time and place that he thinks it is. And so he actually goes into the past and learns the truth behind some things that were in the motion that made Thundera get destroyed, and what the king might have actually known. But he gets sworn to secrecy in that past time, and now he is the only one that kind of knows what they're really up against, and what the reason that they are stuck in the place that they are is. And yet he doesn't have the ability to tell them. And the only person who knows completely, other than him, that's what's going on, is little old Snarf. And so they kind of have a secret, like, brewing between them, which, you know, not many people know what Snarf is saying in our world. So it's, you know, if Snarf really knows and what he's really holding on to, we might never know. Black Cloak, issue 8 from Kelly Thompson. This is arc 2 of that coming back. And this is about a world where we have two detectives who are working together to kind of solve mysteries in a very fantasy-based world. I think if you are a fan of Saga and you haven't picked up Black Cloak yet, you definitely need to, because it does kind of have that similar, almost everyday aspects of life mixed into a fantasy world. But this is, in volume 1, we actually saw them kind of solve a case that was very important to our main character, Detective Essex, and she had to put it all back together, and now she has been let go from the force, but there is a big case that her partner cannot solve without her help, and so he has gone in this issue and is requesting to bring her back, even though if you've read the last issue, you know he already did. He just didn't ask permission, and now he's like, I need you to be able to go out in the open and work this case, because this is big, and so he's actually having to go before the council and ask for permission. And the weird thing, of course, is that the council is her father, so there's all kinds of crazy ties and stuff. But we are finding out that some creatures long thought to be mythological may actually be truly real creatures, and truly dangerous, in that they are possibly behind the crimes that we're seeing, and maybe more intelligent than anybody ever thought with the myths that they believed in. So really, really good story. I mean, it's Kelly Thompson. She builds great worlds. She builds great characters, and she is definitely doing that really well in here. So check it out for sure. Drawing Blood, issue 6 from Image Comics. This just continues to become even better. Like, every issue, I absolutely love this story. It's one of those where I can't wait till I get to it in my stack. I read in the order that I present them to you in, and so I'm always like, oh man, I hope I get there soon. But this is essentially a fictional retelling of Kevin Eastman's life, in that it is about a guy named Books who invents these teenage mutant cats people. And him and his friend invent a comic together in their garage. It gets really popular. It gets turned into an animated show. Now it's getting made into a movie years later. And this follows along as he is dealing with a lot of problems. Like, the director is trying to make the show or the movie a completely different thing, and the fans are really mad and holding him responsible. His ex-wife is trying to also make an adult film, of his characters, and they expect him to kind of do something about it. There's a documentary being made about his life and all the things he's going through. He's trying to make a Broadway show that's completely unrelated. Oh yeah, and he made some Eastern European mobsters real mad, and they're chasing after him. So he's got a lot going on at the moment, and he's not handling it very well. And so this is just kind of watching him fall apart and try to piece it all back together again with some really great storytelling and great humor, and questions about what Kevin Eastman really got up to on the side. I really want to know how much is biographical and how much is a joke, but someday we'll find out, I'm sure. We've got issue 6 of Feral from Image Comics, and if you are a fan of Stray Dogs, you absolutely need to be reading this, because this is the same exact creative team bringing you another book in that kind of style, which is cute and adorable horror. And so in this world, we are following a group of cats who have recently found out that there is a virus that's spreading through the animal community and is causing them to go rabid and attack each other, a la The Walking Dead. And these cats just want to find their way home so that maybe everything will be okay, because surely their owners would not have let this happen to them, and maybe their owners are in danger and they need to figure out how to save them. And so these cats are just trying to find a safe space and a safe path home. And it's not really working so well because, zombie outbreaks never really do. It is the most adorable, sad and wonderful horror that you can find, and a great companion to the already existing Stray Dogs universe. And while we're talking about that, I guess now's a great time to let you know, if you didn't already, October 25th here at Bat City from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., we are actually going to be welcoming this entire creative team for a signing. Yay, sound effects. Yes, Tony Fleece, Tone Rodriguez, Tris Forstner, they're all going to be here. They will be signing copies of this. They will sign your Stray Dogs copies. They will sign your Stray Dogs trade paperbacks. They will be doing sketches and remarks if you'd like. So if you have blank covers and you want to get your pet drawn,
We're so excited.
It's so great. Yes, so we are a part of the Feral World Tour, and I'm so happy, and it's going to be amazing. So again, 5 to 8, October 25th, they will be here. They're signing. Not only that, but Tony will sign your Local Man. He will sign your Army of Darkness. He will sign your Uncanny Valley. If you've got something that any of them worked on, it doesn't have to be Stray Dogs or feral related. They will sign it if you bring it. So that's going to be October 25th. There is an event coming to our Facebook page this week that will let you know all the details about that. And put it on your calendar now. That's a Friday night. Get excited, because we're excited. And it's the day before our Halloween event. So, you know what? Get hyped, because it's going to be crazy, and it's going to be so much fun. I'm so excited to have them signing at Halloween. Like, to have one of the biggest horror teams of the last 4 years coming to sign on Halloween weekend is so incredible. Thank you to all of them. Thank you to Tony for setting it up. It's going to be great. You better start collecting your books now. And seriously, go find all those horror movie variants while you can on the internet, because this world tour is happening, so people are probably hunting them down. Speaking of cats that, are a little evil, we've got Per Evil, issue 6 from Image, and this is the wrap-up of this book for us. I love that this says, never entrust a human being with the work of an evil cat, and I kind of want that to be a motto on more things. But this is all about a young girl named Deb, whose parents actually did a spell ritual when they were having her to sell her to a demonic cat god, and she was supposed to supposed to essentially give her life over to this cat god, and over the course of her entire existence, these like evil invisible cats have come out and just kind of attacked people every time she was angry or in danger or anything of the nature. And Deb's dad is awful and terrible, and he has decided that he wants Deb's power for himself. He wants to be the evil guy with all the cat power, and he is going to try to make a play for that in this last book. Deb's going to have to come to learn how to embrace her catitude and really put this into action if she wants to not only be like the goddess of cats, which is a title I would love to have someday, but also just to get it under control, get her emotions under control if she wants to like live her own life. And so if you haven't read it yet, this is the wrap up, so you can grab all 6 issues, or know that a trade paperback of the whole thing will probably be coming in a couple of months if you're more of a trade reader. But it's just a fun off the wall kind of crazy cat lady story, and it's the kind of story I love. All right, we've got Dick Tracy issue 5 from Mad Cave. This is wrapping up arc 1 of Dick Tracy. So this is going to be kind of your first story arc completion. And if you have been following this arc, you know that Dick Tracy is dealing with a murder that happened at a diner, the Green Eyes Diner. He is trying to figure out who killed some very important people in town, and one being Tess Trueheart's father, and so he has her on his team of people who is helping him trying to solve this mystery. He has gone after a lot of the Dick Tracy rogues gallery, only to not ever really get there fast enough to figure out what is actually going on, who is this new threat in town, and what is it that they're after, and how are they going to accomplish it, and is Dick Tracy ever going to be able to take him down? And we get to see this issue some of the big points of Dick Tracy's character, like how he is very much against corruption in the police system, and how he's not going to back down when people, I'm not going to show you much more of the rest, how when people come at him and try to tell him like, hey, we're buying you off, you got to do things our way kind of situation. Dick Tracy's not going to fall for that. We also do get to see some really awesome moments for Tess being just a cool heroine in her own right. So, you know, get ready, Dick Tracy fans. You're getting more, but I don't know what it's going to be. We've got Spend the Night issue 5 from Kong Comics. If you haven't read this yet, this is all about a group of girls who decide that they're going to do one of those horror like pranks at a slumber party, and they're going to call on the spirit of a girl that like died in their community who didn't have any friends and stuff like that. And the ghost of that girl gets real mad and is real tired of people using her like that. So she decides she's going to curse them all. And now every Friday night they have to have a slumber party and do whatever the ghost says or she'll kill them. And so in this issue, they have to have a scavenger hunt because the ghost always wanted to go to a slumber party with a scavenger hunt. And they are trying to figure out how to get all the items that are popping up in the scavenger hunt, when the ghost also sends a note that says they are being split into 2 separate teams. And so now one team will get a reward and the other will get a punishment. And they're like, oh my God, what if the reward is that the team that gets the scavenger hunt clues first doesn't have to be stuck doing the slumber parties anymore. And so these two girl teams, with the inclusion of Chatty Patty, who is a special friend of theirs, they all have to try to figure out how to be the one to win this scavenger hunt first. And we are not there yet. We don't know who won necessarily, so we're going to figure out. This one's going to continue into it. Some of them have been kind of more one-shot. Some of them have been continuing stories. So, see what happens next with those girls and their bad choices. And speaking of bad choices, we have My Bad, issue 5. This is volume 3, the Peculiar Islands kind of saga of My Bad. If you've never read this, you are doing yourself a very big injustice because this is a fantastic story from Mark Russell, all about some superheroes and villains and the beautiful lives that they lead. And specifically, we've been following over the course of My Bad the story of their Batman, essentially, who is known as the Chandelier, and he has recently decided that he is not the Chandelier anymore, but he is now running a broadcast, which is a podcast for bros, if you didn't know that. And he has been doing a great job doing just that, except he told some people on there that he could drink his own urine and it would be a cure for everything, and he doubled down on that over and over again. And now they're there to prove that you can't, and so this massive, like, group of people have shown up to make him drink pee. Meanwhile, at the same time, Rush Hour, who is kind of like a minor hero who just stops minor traffic related crimes, has accidentally revealed some very big information on who actually killed the Accelerator, who was like the world's greatest superhero, to his wife. And so now things are in motion for some big bad moments for people involved. And our Emperor King, our once former big baddie, is having to realize he needs to take on some villains his own size, but also maybe just figure out what he wants to do with his life and kind of get it together. And so all of these wonderful people are hanging out now, crossing paths on Peculiar Island, which is governed by one's President Adams, who has come back from time to be a superhero. It's ridiculous in all of the best ways. The master of satire constantly provides us with great stories, and you need to check it out. Helen of Windhorn, issue 5 from Dark Horse. I'm pretty sure we only have one issue left of this story, and I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to be okay with an ending. But this is an absolutely gorgeous book in every way, shape, or form. Bill Quest Evely is just drawing a massive world of art, and Tom King is possibly doing some of his best fantasy writing that you could ever imagine him doing. This is the story of a girl in her early 20s who was raised by her father, who was a famous writer, and he has recently passed away, and so she has been summoned by her grandfather through a governess to come back to Windhorn, which is the family manor, and actually be raised there to live in and work in this life that they have. And the life that they have is being the characters essentially from this fantasy world that her dad was writing about. The grandfather is essentially this great warrior in a fictional world that exists just on the other side of Windhorn, very Narnia-esque, like you travel through the edge and you come into this other world. And he has been training Helen and taking her with him over the last couple of issues, but at the end of the last issue, Helen got hurt, and he's decided that she can't go there ever again. And so in this issue, we're seeing the fallout of that, which is Helen absolutely losing it and not seeing a reason to live and how to go forward, and her governess having to stand up and fight for her. And figure out what that's going to be. Honestly, all of the story is great. Like, the story of the books is great. The story of the fantasy world is great. The story of Helen is great. The story of the governess is great. But the fact that there's also, like, this, like, sixth frame tell, essentially, like, sitting on the edge of there, which is about the transcripts of the interviews that the governess did. It's like, the governess's interview is the frame tell, but then beyond that is the story of how these transcripts just keep like floating around to different people and all the things they're going through. And it is absolutely crazy where it's all working out. So if you haven't checked out Helen of Windhorn, oh my God, it's beautiful and amazing, and you are going to love it. Hercules, issue 5 from Dynamite and their Disney Comics. I keep saying, like, a lot of these are, only, like, 4 or 5 issues, but it seems like Hercules and Lilo and Stitch are just going to keep going, and I'm so excited about that because they're both very good. And, again, fantastic things to share with kids, but this is all about Hercules, who, at the end of the movie, made no choice to be immortal and stay with Megara, and now the gods are missing, and people keep disappearing, and the only person that can save the day, of course, is Hercules, because he's the only one that can kind of interact with all of them. And they have been trying to figure it out, and in this issue they go back up to Olympus trying to have a conversation with the gods about what's going on, what they've learned so far, and who they think that the person kidnapping the gods may be, only to find out that all of Olympus has been stolen and the sun is crashing down because there's no Apollo or Helios, and so there's nobody to hold the sun up. And so they have to figure it out. But we get our first clue at maybe Hercules isn't right about his assessments and where he thinks this is going. And what is going to happen to Hercules as he makes his false allegations is going to lead into some big moments. If you are a fan of the movie, it feels like they just kept it going, and the cast reads the same way. You hear it in their voices. And so it's just absolutely fantastic. And speaking of it feeling exactly like watching the movie, Lilo and Stitch also hit issue 5 this week from Dynamite. And over the course of this series, that first four-story arc had Stitch trying to go away because he was worried that he was going to put Lilo in danger. I was worried he was going to put Lilo in danger, so he left, only to have the danger follow him, and Lilo end up trying to figure out how to find him because Lilo and Stitch are Ohana, and Ohana means nobody gets left behind or forgotten. And so Lilo had to save Stitch, Stitch has to save Lilo, and in this issue they come to Lilo from the Intergalactic Federation that Stitch was made by, and are like, we need to honor you, Lilo, with a prize. But Stitch cannot come because we still see him as too dangerous in our world. So they take Lilo and Nani out to their world, only for them to find out that that is not the case. They did not want to honor Lilo with anything. They wanted Lilo to figure out what is going on with this other monster on their planet who has been acting wild and crazy and attacking people. And of course, Lilo, with her kindness, is able to address the situation in a much better way than any of them are. And back at home, Stitch is worried that if he is too dangerous, then maybe he is too dangerous for Lilo. And he gets to kind of learn that, again, their family is their family, and they stick together, and that Stitch is obviously a part of that. And it's just so dang cute. Oh my gosh. Lilo and Stitch, the most underrated of Disney movies. I'm always happy when it gets the love that it deserves. And Dynamite, if you're listening, I have actually had multiple kids ask me when we get a Toy Story one of these. So, and another one asked me that just this morning. So if you're out there, Dynamite people, and you're watching, the children have spoken. They would like a Toy Story one of some sort. So, Toy Story. Up next, we've got Silicone Bandits issue 4 from Magma Comics, and this is the wrap-up of this series as well. It is 2089. The world is very futuristic, and we've gotten to the point where, like, we've surpassed, like, our android making skills, androids upon androids upon androids kind of being built, and these two scientists invent the ultimate of androids who can think and reason and create their own advancements to create more androids. And so once they do that, their boss fires them, and they are super duper worried about what is going to happen to them. And it turns out that the husband of the couple has actually made a even more advanced set of these androids, and they decide they are going to use them to rob the company that they worked for of all of the materials needed to make more. And maybe they'll make more, or maybe they'll just sell the materials. But this backfires entirely when the androids feel like they are being taken advantage of, and they hatch their own plan. And now in this last issue, the humans of all the different sides of the story are at the mercy of the androids of all the different sides of the story, and we see how we need to stop relying on artificial intelligence and androids and things like that in any capacity, because it never ends well. So read this if you like books like that. You are definitely gonna love this because it's really well written, and it's got fantastic art and storytelling. I'm gonna take a drink really fast of this delicious Bride of Frankenstein wine. Even more of a kick to it as it breathes. I like it. It is alive. That's what it says in the back. It's telling me it's alive. It's true. You're alive. It's delicious. We actually, Mike and I had been making the joke that we were going to drink this wine and eat rainbow sherbet. So I actually do have the rainbow sherbet too, but we're not going to do that with the comics. That's dangerously messy for comics. We've got the Anansi Boys issue 4 from Dark Horse. This is the story of two brothers who didn't know that they were brothers. Well, I guess it's really the story of one man who didn't know he had a brother. And at the very beginning of the first issue, the man finds out that his father has died. And when he goes to return home for the funeral, he also finds out that his father was a god. And he's like, I don't believe that. Like, my father wasn't even a good father, nonetheless, like godly man. And they're like, nope, he's totally a god. And if you don't believe me, like, find your brother. Your brother will explain it all. And he's like, well, I didn't even know I had a brother. How do I find him? And they're like, just whisper to a spider, and the spider will find him. And he's like, this is so weird. Only to find out that, I mean, obviously they're the Anansi boys. So if you know your folklore, you know that it's because they are related to the spider god himself. But now these two brothers have come together, and they're kind of just in that first stage of grief, which is apparently partying. And so in this issue, they are going out to get wine. Oh my gosh, what are the three things he says? Where did they go? Oh, wine, women, and song. And so they go out to a nice place to get some wine that is like underground. You can't get it anywhere else. Wine of the gods, essentially. They meet some women in a bar, and then they go karaokeing. And this entire issue kind of revolves around karaoke, which I really love. I thought that was a beautiful way to celebrate and give tribute to the world that this man inhabited. But we also see our main character make some choices in his own life that maybe will free him a little more from the world that he's kind of written himself into, but could also be ultimate destruction to the things that he does actually like about his life. His brother seems to be a whirlwind. Whether or not that's going to be a good or bad thing, we will discover as the story goes on. It's a really interesting family dynamic story, though. If you haven't read it yet, that is the thing that I think is the best within that. We've got Rifters, issue 4 from Image Comics. This is such a ridiculous, crazy story, but this is basically we create time travel. We let time travel go to just scientists. Then we decide time travel should go to rich people. Then eventually time travel gets to everybody. So now we have a police force to monitor this time travel. And these two guys are the two people who run this division of time travel. And they are supposed to, or I guess they don't run it. Sorry, that's not true at all. They are the two guys who run like minor crimes. Like they are the detectives for minor crimes within this, and they think that, you know, they get involved with some things that aren't necessarily in their jurisdiction quite often, and in this one they end up getting involved in a murder that has nothing to do with them. They accidentally make some foolish choices and decisions on paper, which leads them to lose their jobs, but they're detectives through and through, and they don't want to give up. And so now they are actually going to investigate the situation on their own. And this is one of those that's like over the top, ridiculous like concepts and has a lot of humor into it. But like issues like this one kind of bring that heart into it and show you the layers of these characters that are like, oh, like there's more to these people, and they've got something. You know, they've got some stuff going on that's actually driving the force behind each of them, and we're going to kind of see how that really comes into play for them as this goes on. But if you haven't read it yet and you enjoy time travel, this is just kind of a really fun adventure story within that time travel kind of universe. Self-Help, issue 4 from Image. If you could make a ridiculously hilarious, violent version of The Prince and the Pauper, this would be what Self-Help is. This is all about a man who is a criminal and is kind of just out of jail and is working as an Uber driver, and he looks exactly like the world's most renowned self-help guru. And one day he actually is driving said self-help guru to a meeting, and some stuff happens, and now he looks like nobody because he's the only of the two, and he must go on living this self-help guru's life now. And he's like, this could be the greatest scam of all time if I do it right. But then we find out that the self-help guru could use some self-help because he has gotten himself into a lot of messes. He owes a lot of people that are very dangerous a lot of money. He's got a lot of clients that he's making some poor choices with. And so now this guy's like, oh, this is an easy score for me. I can get all this guy's money, only to find out, you're probably just dropped into way more problems than you had before. So he goes back to the only person who's ever been good at helping him with crime before, which is his ex. And is like, we're going to have to do this together. But that is going to also open up some very big problems for him in and of itself. Seriously, this book is so well done. You've got to check it out. I mean, it literally won does that say the best comic 2024 at the Cannes Comic Festival? I didn't even know they had a comic festival for Cannes. Okay. They won an award there for this comic, which totally makes sense. And it is actually very cinematic, so it's funny that it was the Cannes Film Festival that it won at, or Comic Festival. Also, now I have to look into that because, like, I didn't know that they had one. And I'm like, that's so cool. That makes sense because AWA had their whole thing but I had no idea. Now I gotta know. All right, we've got Moon Man, issue 4 from Image and Your Black Market Narrative imprint, which means that this does have the ability to connect to your Radiant Black universe at some point if it ever wants to. It does not as of now. The other thing to keep in mind is this is written by Kid Cudi, so if you want to check out what Kid Cudi would write as a comic, here it is, and it is really actually a great concept. It is all about a guy who is an astronaut and goes out into space, and while he's there, one of those crazy, like, weird science situations happens where, like, 6 minutes of his life is missing, and he comes back, and now he essentially has superpowers, but everybody else that was on his mission, like, is either, like, in hiding or is killed and things like that, and he just wants to go home and take care of his little brother who's a teenager in one of those underserved communities who needs some help, and his little brother is like, I'm going to take care of my situation and my problems on my own. Like, I'm getting involved in all kinds of stupid decision making. And he's like, no, I've got this. Let me superhero. And so now the two worlds have kind of come together because little brother has gotten involved in some stupidly dangerous stuff. And our Moon Man himself has to come and save him. But can he make it in time? Is it going to work out? We're going to find out. But yeah, it's just a great, like, older brother, younger brother, like, sibling dynamic of, like, what happens when you get superpowers and you gotta save your family. Spectrograph, issue 3 from Distillery, and this beautifully drawn, colored masterpiece of IMAX quality. I just really like Distillery books for the fact that they're so big and you get so much art and color and greatness in them. But this is one of the newer books from James Tynion, and it is all about a woman who is a real estate agent and not very good at her job, who gets a call to sell a house that will definitely help her out a lot if she can actually get the client to buy the house. And so she meets this woman who is the essentially assistant for a man and an organization who is going to view this house, only to go in the house and show the woman the house and have the woman actually activate, like, some, like, ancient curse kind of situation going on that locks them into the house possibly forever. And she's like, oh my god, I can't believe you locked me in this house with you. I left my baby at home alone. And the girl's like, why would you leave your baby at home? And she's like, I had to come sell you the house. And she's like, but you had a baby. And she's like, oh my god, you're never getting out of here. Like, we're trapped in here forever. And we've kind of seen them chased by ghosts and different things. This is actually, to me, one of the probably the best issue of this story so far, because we do actually get to see the backstory of the mom and the relationship she had with her ex and how it led her to the baby, and how she's like, where she actually feels about how she feels about a baby and her the whole connection to that, good and bad. And then we also do get to see the backstory of the young girl that she's trapped with, and why she made the choice that she did to kind of come into this place as they attempt to try to figure out how they're going to get out, because they're like, there's got to be a way. And so they start researching the journals of the man who built the house and built the spectrograph, which is the machine that's trapped them there and also brought the ghost back to life. And they are trying to figure out exactly how you can how they can make it work and maybe survive, and also maybe give some just advice. I love that this woman is like, okay, now you're trapped in here with me. Like, I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. So here's the adult me giving 22-year-old you all of the advice about how you should not be associating with these cults and stupid people who do stupid things. Like, why? Like, and so it's great. This, like I said, it's the best issue of the whole series so far, and it's a cool saga to see kind of all the different layers unfold on top of each other. We've got Biker Mice from Mars, issue 3 from Oni Press and their Nacelle universe, which is going to bring us so many crazy cartoon worlds brought back to life for you. And this is your Biker Mice from Mars, who are a group of, mice who live on Mars, to put that the easy way first. But they are facing a problem in that there are these Plutarians who have been attacking and enslaving the people of Mars, and they initially in this series kind of tried to join the military, only to realize like that's not for them, because the military isn't doing anything for the people of their community, and they're like, we were doing more to protect our friends than they were. And so they decide like, hey, maybe we're going to go back to our community and just fight it ourselves. Along the way there, I guess as they get back there, they realize that the war has come directly to their community and they must fight for it themselves. And they end up meeting another mouse who is also very much determined to get away or to destroy these like Plutarians that are attacking them, and they build their team and kind of start to fight that battle and see where that's going to take them. And so this is I believe this was our trade break point, or at least our break point. I don't know that it's going to be in a trade, but I think this is our first break point for Biker Mice, and that is, they have now given us like a Nacelleverse checklist at the back to kind of tell us like where we're going and what else is coming our way. So you guys got to check it out. This is really good, and it's really easy to follow even if you've never read Biker Mice from Mars. So far, these Nacelleverse books have all been that way. Like, if you're like, I've never heard of these characters, this is like your great jumping in point if you want to learn about them and kind of figure out more. We've got The Last Wardens, issue 3 from Mad Cave. This is about a teenage girl in the 70s whose brother was in a war, Vietnam probably, was in the war, and she suddenly, like, she's been left at home with her dad, and he's like kind of become a drunken like blob, doesn't really do anything. And one day she is driving home with some friends, and she sees her brother just walking down the street, and she gets so excited that her brother is back, takes him in, is trying to figure out like what all's going on because he seems very off, only to have like a giant monster essentially explode from her brother. And these mysterious people show up who are like, hey, we're the Wardens, we're here to like protect you and your people. Don't worry, we'll take care of this. We're going to destroy this monster. And she is like, you're not going to destroy this monster. This monster's not a monster. It's my brother. He needs to, he needs help. He doesn't need destruction. And she's kind of been fighting against them to save her brother this whole time. And in this issue, we actually learn a little bit more about where these Wardens come from, what their dynamic is. We learn a little bit more about essentially like the monsters. So she's piecing it together, and we're kind of piecing it together with her about whether or not she can actually save her brother and whether or not it's too late for her town. And you're going to find that out probably in the next issue or so as they continue to try to fight to save them. Speaking of fights, Kill All Immortals issue 3, and this is from Dark Horse. This is such a cool concept of a book. This is all about a girl who is named Freya, and she just happens to be an immortal, and so are her siblings and her dad, and they're all these Norse mythological people, or real people, I guess, at some points in history. However you want to look at that, it's kind of a blend. And she's kind of left the family and has been living her life as a philanthropist and trying to do the right thing, because the family essentially works as these like long time mobsters over the course of history, and she doesn't want to do that. Well, a reporter is doing a story on her, and her family is very specific on that not being okay, and so her choice to align with the reporter over her family has now led them to all come after her. in an attempt to kill the reporter and to kind of silence her from having any kind of conversation. And this is just a knockdown, drag-out battle of wits and skill between Norse gods, essentially, in the modern time. And I really just want her to win really, really badly because she's so cool. And she just kind of wanted to do the right thing. And I just think she's awesome. And I want to be her friend. She might make it on my list of comic book characters 2024 that I want to be friends with because she's so cool. Doctor Who, issue 3, from, I think this is Titan. Is it Titan that does the Doctor Who books? Yes. This is the 15th Doctor story, which I have not seen the show of. I've heard incredible, wonderful things. But this is an ongoing comic story featuring that same character. And the Doctor has landed at a shopping mall at the end of the universe, and it's kind of one of those last places where people can survive. And you can't actually go outside. All the people are living in the mall. And he and his companion have landed in here, and they get separated, and we believe that they are being attacked by some Cybermen, only to find out that we are actually being attacked by a Scream sommelier, an evil guy who kind of makes you have these hallucinations and dark dreams and visions of your worst fears. And so the Doctor is battling these Cybermen while his companion is trying to figure out her own situation. She is now trying to save these creatures that the humans seem to think are the problem and are always killing. And so she is trying to save them and step into the role of the Doctor while her and the Doctor are separated, as the good companions always do. And we are seeing the Doctor try to fight to get back to her in this issue and figure out how they're going to save everybody involved, which we know will eventually happen because the Doctor always fights until he is able to do as much of that as possible, or I guess I should say, for the Doctor. And so it's just great. If you're a fan of Doctor Who, you should be reading the Doctor Who comics because they're always just more great stories in the world, and the writing is always so fantastic, and you just feel good. Just like when you watch Doctor Who, you just feel good at the end of every issue you read. Hello Darkness, issue 3 from Boom Studios. This is Boom Studios' latest horror anthology. I guess the latest horror anthology on the shelf, the only one from Boom, really. And we are going to get a couple different stories. The first one is written by our friend Michael Conrad with art by Martin Morazzo, who you may know from Ice Cream Man. And this is such a good story all about two friends who are in a battle to always one-up each other, and one of them decides to be a YouTuber that does the eating competition, or the eating videos to they had a word for it and I already forgot what it is, but they started eating, but then needed to take it up a notch as they battled between each other, and so they start eating themselves and others to try to outdo each other, and we see how that works out, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. And then the second story before that, there's a great one-page random little stories from Robert Hack, who just does cool art and cool stories. And then there is, those of you who are wondering, it is in this issue, the second installment of the Something is Killing the Children story that is being featured here in Hello Darkness, and it's just another story about Erica off on a different adventure and kind of just learning a little bit more about some of the stuff that Erica has experienced. And because they are so short, so I'm not going to show you that. I have to show you this wicked image though, because it's just the art in between stories in Hello Darkness has been so cool. So many good pieces in it. And then we get a war story with some monstrous beings that come into play. Some very, very dark, creepy, godlike guys that are a part of the war. And then you get, I don't want to show you them. What is the last story? Oh, and then you get another installment into Garth Ennis's story about the war. And this has been all about a group of friends, and we kind of see from different people's points of view in each story, and they're not ever actually showing the war. We're kind of just seeing these people's responses to it and the stuff that is happening around it. And so as this issue kind of plays out, we get to see a little bit more of the war like each time, and we kind of get to see you know, how that impacts into the people. So if you are looking for another, you know, horror-esque anthology, this is definitely a good one. It is one that does usually have like one or two ongoings. The Garth Ennis story has been in every issue so far, and that's Something Is Killing the Children one is going to be appearing in different ones as well. So gotta catch them all. We've got the Luchaverse Catalyst issue 3 from Massive, and this is if you are a fan of wrestling, this is Rey Mysterio like related, but if you aren't, you'll never know that as a thing that matters. But there is 2 stories in here, and they always connect. The first one just kind of gives us a backstory of Conan and the ambassadors, and this is just kind of like the military secret society division, whatever you want to call it, that kind of brings us to the fact that we have these like luchador superheroes, and so we're seeing them kind of figure out that what the problems are going on and where these like monstrous beings are coming from and all the attacks that are happening on the earth. And they're like, we need to bring in the luchadors, and they can't find the ones that they're used to, and so they're trying to figure out like what their plan of attack is going to be. And then we do see the story that we've been following along the way, which is of the 2 brothers who have been luchador superheroes that are not connected to what the government has been doing, and they kind of have their own story and are like, okay, you know, we're just trying to figure out like what this bad guy is and who's attacking us and our people and how we ended up in this space that we didn't expect to be in. And so in this issue, they all do kind of cross paths. Because this is technically the final issue to set up what is going to come for the rest of the Luchaverse universe as they build that out, because they are going to need our heroes that we've been following to kind of step into this superhero-esque type role and bring it together if they're going to save the world. Convert, issue 2 from Image. This is about a group of people who have gone into space and are trying to like figure out where they are on this planet. They're kind of on, is it a rescue mission? Is it a educational mission? We're kind of not really sure, but they have found the journal of the person who was brought there before them. And so we kind of see both stories. We see them as the frame tell of their experience on there, and then we do get to see the happenings of the journal. And in this issue, we find our once forgotten astronaut who landed there has been taken in by these mysterious beings, and they're feeding him, and in the process, he starts to kind of understand their language, and so he's not sure if it comes from what they're eating. And he starts to see like a little bit about the world that they have him traveling through, and learn about their culture and the different things that exist on this planet. And he feels like there's something dark and like looming, following after them. And while he's like, maybe it's just my imagination, it's like maybe it's not. And as he kind of approaches that, he learns a little bit more about what is coming in the future for them. And it's just a very, very different comic, honestly. Like, so many stories that we're seeing have very similar threads and like concepts. This one doesn't seem to kind of feel like anything else on the shelf, and it's just got really like hyper kind of stylized art, like detailed arts at times, and just a completely unique story. So if you're looking for something fresh and different, like this might be a good one to pick up for sure. Defenders of the Earth, issue 2 from Mad Caven, a part of our Flash Gordon universe that they are building out for us. And this does have Flash in it. It also has Flash's son. It has the Phantom. It has Mandrake the Magician. And it's got a couple of other people from that kind of the Defenders of the Earth realm. But we are kind of following, as Flash Gordon has kind of become that guy that almost corporatized too much on what he was doing. Like, he kind of corporatized the Defenders of the Earth, and so they're all on their own. And in this issue, Mandrake is performing in Vegas to sold-out shows, but he's also using it as a way to find information, which he is sharing with the Phantom about some things that are going on. Meanwhile, some of the other people of the Defenders of the Earth have returned to the African countries that a lot, like the Phantom and others, have always been in and defended, only to find out that things have very drastically changed, and there is another Phantom there, and possibly a society of Phantoms who are acting in the Phantom stead as he is here in America, and not on his wishes, and not in his style or his fashion, maybe not even in the superhero fashion at all. And so they are kind of having to figure out like how they can address that situation, and also maybe bring the Phantom back to the home turf to kind of fix that. If you are interested, first of all, apparently there is a Phantom video game coming soon. But also there is a checklist for the Flash Gordon universe at the back of all of your Mad Cave Flash Gordon books to kind of tell you like what's going on. Right now we have Flash Gordon, Defenders of the Earth, and Flash Gordon Quarterly, and it'll kind of tell you which one's coming out where and what's already out, so you know when to pick it up. So I apparently play the Phantom video game. Who knew? All right. Speaking of our Bride of Frankenstein wine, issue 2 of Frankenstein, the Universal Monster Story from Image Skybound, is out this week. And it's just such a cool take on Frankenstein. I'm very excited. It's not, like I said, we kind of all thought it was going to be very anthology-esque because of kind of the way that it was like, oh, they're going to talk about the different parts of the body that they put together, and it's Michael Walsh who does anthologies, but it's not actually that anthology-esque. And in the last issue, we kind of got that typical, moment where Elizabeth comes in and is like, oh, we have to stop the dangerous things that Frankenstein is doing, like the work that he's done has created monsters or could create monsters. And in this issue, we kind of see the fallout of, as always, the abnormal brain choice that his assistant makes. But we also see, like, maybe don't be a big giant jerk, because his assistant is constantly overstepping his bounds and constantly pushing and prodding and treating, I love this panel, treating the creature with such disrespect. And he is gonna kind of, see where that leads. But one of the things that has been in this story that has been very interesting is there is a young boy who saw them steal the first body parts, the hands, in the first issue, and now he's kind of watched as each of these things happen. He's kind of just following the story for us. He's our eyes and ears, and he's getting into some trouble as he's now been caught for the first time, but he's also continuing his own little investigation and following the story along. And I like that as we see the story, we're actually just really the little boy, and we're kind of following what that is and kind of having that same experience. But it's very well done, and the art is fantastic, and I can't wait to see more. Stand Still, issue 2 from Image Comics. Another time travel book with some people making some possibly terrible decisions about time travel. And this does follow 2 different stories, one of them that are connected. In the first issue, we kind of followed this time traveling mercenary, I guess is the best way to describe it, who was beating some people up and taking some names and possibly doing it for nefarious reasons, possibly doing it for good reasons. We're not really sure what side he falls on. Again, seems very mercenary-esque. This one we kind of follow a little harder on the scientist side, who were first introduced in the last issue, the people who created the time traveling device itself, and maybe seeing a little bit more about what they actually intended to do and what happened with the technology they created. But one of the things that they have discovered at this is that it was indeed given to some kind of killer or person that is not who they necessarily wanted it to go to. And so now they are going to have to do the only thing they can think of, which is to build their own time travel device so that they can find the energy sources of the other one and kind of figure out how to stop this guy themselves, since nobody's doing that. But neither of them work for the company that they worked for when they built it before, and so now they're going to have to figure out how to make it on their own. Meanwhile, our mercenary is having way too much fun just going to different places and seeing if people can kill him, and then being like, well, if you can't kill me, I get to, like, I'm going to attempt to kill you if you don't kill me. And so he's just kind of having way too much fun, possibly taking down bad guys, possibly not. Again, his motives are all over the place, but it's kind of interesting to see how he's using time travel, because we always see people in time travel books so concerned with the rules, and to have like a main character who's like, I don't care about the rules at all, and I'm just going to time travel the way I want to time travel and use it for what I want to use, is kind of makes for an interesting time traveling story. Let me take another drink. All right, we've got Babs, issue 2 from Ahoy Comics. This is just absolutely a fantastic sword and sorcery story for all of those who feel like women don't get the agency they deserve in sword and sorcery stories. Here's a good one for you. And this follows Babs, who is the best swordsperson in the world, and she's kind of just, you know, doing her thing. She's avenging people, she's attacking people, she's doing whatever. I love it because in this she's actually like on the road, so she's taking a bath, and these people come, like this man comes up to her, and he's like a ghost dude, and he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be weird, this is awkward, I didn't know you were like showering. And then his like ghost wife is with him, and they're like, she's like, oh my God, don't be weird. Why are you being like a creepy pervert guy? Like, go away. Let me talk to this woman. And she's like, by the way, how do you get your hair so beautiful? And like, they just need directions to the town that they're supposed to haunt. It's so hilarious, the way it's all set up. But at the same time, some like guys we met in the first issue who just absolutely hate Babs because she's a strong, powerful woman are just trying to make the world a terrible place for more people, as they often do. And because they think that because of the fact that they are men in this world, they believe that they should have money, women, and anything else that they want, and nobody should be able to tell them that they can't. Just because they exist as men. And so they're in for a very rude awakening, and Babs will probably give it to them. And she, again, because she's already defeated them once. It's just absolutely fantastic. It's the typical, like, Ahoy humor, and I love that they're taking on yet another classic genre of comics, but using it to tell us some satire and parody all in the same time. And if you haven't read it yet, please pick up issue 1 and 2 at the same time, because you aren't going to want to miss this book at all. We've got Patra, issue 2. This is from Dark Horse as well. This is the story of a little girl who is running through the woods trying to get away from we're going to show you, a slasher who is coming after her, a man who may or may not be escaped from an asylum and is chasing her down as like the one person who got away. And that is what we believed in issue 1. And in issue 2, we are going to be all kinds of confused about what we believe, because things are changing, and they're changing quickly as we follow the local law enforcement who is investigating this, and this psychiatrist who has come along to help him home for dinner. And he gets to learn a little bit more about the facility that the psychiatrist works in and the people that are there. And we get to learn a little bit more about the psychiatrist and a little bit more about Patra. And if you are not asking yourself a lot of big questions at the end of this issue, read it again, because there are a lot of questions at the end of this issue, and I don't know who is who and who's doing what, and I don't even know what's real anymore. So if you want to also be confused in the best way with a great story and some really cool art, grab Patra, because she's here for you for that. And honestly, I cannot wait to see where this goes. Like, issue 3, like, please hurry, don't take too long, because I need to know what happened in those last couple of pages. I need to know. I need some answers, because I got lots of questions and I need to ask them, and I don't know what the answers are going to be. So somebody write, like, Robinson Rollins, get me issue 3 immediately, so I have answers. Monster High, new Scaremester issue 2 from IDW. If you are a fan of classic Monster High animated movies, the animated shorts, or just the dolls, you absolutely need to be reading these. Frankenstein is the main character of this, and the main character in my mind when I think of Monster High in general. She is worried about the fact that all of her friends kind of fell out at the end of the last school year, and none of them talked over the summer, and she's trying to put them all back together again. So she decides to sign up everybody for cheerleading tryouts so that they all have to go. And now it's fear leading, it's not cheerleading. And so at fear leading tryouts, the girls are all in the same place, and she's trying to kind of talk to each of them to put them back together as a group. But we find out that some people's hard feelings aren't going away so easily, and Cleo Denial, who has been living in her sister's shadow for so long, is so excited to kind of be out on her own that she's kind of got a little too much ego to swallow down in order to actually take her friends back. And it's all her own fault in the first place, and I'm so mad at you, Cleo. Get it together and calm down, because you're being stupid, and that's all I have to say about that. But there's also something dark and creepy happening, and the new Scare Master, who is in fact Frankenstein, is worried about what is going on at the school, and we don't know what that is just yet. And so something wicked this way comes. We'll find out what it is as the series goes on. I love Monster High so much. I'm so excited it's back. And it was like after my time, but I worked at Toys R Us when it came out, so I got obsessed with it because I thought it was the coolest thing that anybody could come up with, and I'm still hold on to that concept. We've got Creepshow Volume 3, Issue 1. From Image and Skybound. Creepshow is back yet again, and it has been awesome all the times that it has been out. And our first story in this one is actually from Chip Zdarsky, and it is all about a mom who always plays by the rules, never ever strays from that, and a daughter who's artistic and wonderful, who makes the choice to go off when she turns 18 and join a cult. And unfortunately, there is absolutely nothing you can do about that. And so the mom decides to take matters into her own hands, and when she gets to the cult, she is drugged and has to deal with things in her own way. And, we learn some stuff about mom. And this one we actually do only get 2 stories because they're both actually longer. The second one is called Scrimshaw, and it is all about a man who lives in a fishing town, and one day he goes to check his traps, and there is the bone of an arm and a hand, and in it, on it is scratched a story, and he gets so invested in the story that is scratched into the arm that he starts to hope for more. And then later a foot comes in and he reads it, and there's more of the story on there, and then he suddenly becomes so obsessed that he'll do anything to get more story to come in. And what that anything is going to be the creepiness of it all. So check it out. 2 great stories from Creepshow, back at it again. We've got Goobers Issue 1 from Vault. This is classic B-movie, alien, possibly alien invasion, possibly just body snatchers, Vault fun. And this is about 4 college age kids who are hey, one of them's I gotta go home for my parents' anniversary, but I live in a small town, I don't want to go back, you guys all come with me. So they go back to this small town, and they meet up, they immediately go to the grocery store, and then they're going out to the cabin, and there's kind of some weird moments where you think something bad's gonna happen, and then it's just the buddy, or there's the moments where the actual weird thing does happen, and you're ooh, how come nobody noticed that? You're am I like losing my mind. Like, that seemed really weird. And then on their first night in the cabin, they are attacked by the local town drunk who seems to lost his mind to, again, a crazy monstrous body snatcher. And they all kind of have to figure out how to stop it, and then maybe figure out what's going on. And is there something taking over the whole town? Are they in danger? Is the town in danger? They're going to figure it out, and they've only got pretty much the one weekend to do it. But this guy who's been like, I hate my hometown, is like, oh, this is my town, though. You can't take over. And now he's kind of forcing all of his friends into the battle with him. It's great. Again, classic B-movie fun of that kind of storytelling, and actually, like, really well written at the same time. Hell's Half Acre, issue 1 from Magma Comics. It is 1904 in Nashville, and we are hanging out at the local, like, small town brothel with the law enforcement and the attorneys and everybody, the sheriff, like, everybody, I guess the sheriff is law enforcement, all the people of the town all hang out at this one place. It's they do their gambling there, and we see a man who kind of swoops in and plays cards with some other people at the table, beats them. They think he cheated. They're worried about it. The guy that gets angry kind of starts to try to start a fight, and they're like, we're not going to let you do that here. That's not the way this works. And we see some very, like, some dynamics of the different people come into play, and I don't want to tell you, like, who everybody is and how they're connected, but we see that there is also more than meets the eye to everybody. And when the brothel catches on fire and we begin to see everybody in very big danger, we actually find out that, like, we don't know who to trust and where to turn, and maybe there's more to even the whole town and the situation than we thought. Some of the big reveals at the end of this issue definitely switched the genre. At the beginning, it kind of seems like it's a Western, and it's just kind of focused on, like, gambling and, like, you know, the Old West kind of vibe, but we definitely get that big switch at the end that's going to put it into that more magma style storytelling, and a reason for it to, you know, have hell connected to it. Knights versus Samurais, issue 1 from Image Comics. This is all about a man who is the local town kind of rescuer. You know, he is the one who's the big dragon slayer. He comes in and he puts the last of the dragons on possibly the extinction list, possibly just like the close to extinction list. But because of that, the palace loves him. The local duke rewards him with a victory dinner and all that, and a new home that's going to be built just for him. And as they are celebrating that, the duke's advisor who has gone out has come back and says that the place that the Duke sent them to, they were all attacked, and there's dangerous people and monsters and creatures, and they need to go and solve this problem. And so of course they must send their dragon slayer off to do it, but we don't necessarily trust this advisor. We definitely don't trust this Duke, and we don't know what we're getting into, but we get some teasers along the way of what that could be. And we're building a big world right now. We're gonna definitely see some monsters. We're gonna see some crazy creatures, and we're gonna see some battles between some knights and samurais. And there's definitely gonna be a lot of backstabbing along the way. So, Black, White, and Bloodshot, issue 1 from Valiant. Getting into the Black, White, and Blood kind of world here, and you're going to get a couple of different stories in here because it is an anthology. I think we have like 4 or 5, and so you just get a couple different ones of Bloodshot kind of going through very action-based stories of all the things he's doing. This is I was gonna say, should I say mature? I was gonna say just violent at its violence at its best. The first one is Bloodshot kind of just going in and, you know, infiltrating and taking out a bad guy's warehouse and kind of talking about how it is. There's one where it's actually really funny because he's like, oh, I'm tired. And they're like, you can't get tired. And I guess it's the first one. They're like, you can't get tired. And he's like, but I am tired. And they were like, I'm tired of doing this. I'm not tired physically. And they're like, oh, well, that's different. And then this one, the second one, he's trying to go see a movie that's literally just like about him. It's called Kill Shot instead of Bloodshot. And somebody attacks at the movie theater, and he gets really annoyed by the fact that they're interrupting his movie. So he like attacks the guy, and it just like mirrors it on the screen the whole time. And so just Bloodshot being Bloodshot. And then there's another one that is somebody like it's a psychic monstrous type thing that looks like Mickey Mouse attacking everybody, and Bloodshot kind of again having to step in and fight the battle for them. And then there is one more about a scientist who thinks that if Bloodshot can automatically regenerate, that she could essentially use like his body and his technology and his nanites and everything to kind of feed the world and save everybody from hunger and sickness and things like that. But what she doesn't realize is Bloodshot's body has an automatic like kill switch in it if something happens to him. And so he's like, hey, I think this is a great idea. You don't have to take me captive. I'll totally help you with this, but we need to figure this out the right way. This is going to keep going. We're going to have at least probably 3 or 4 issues of Black, White, and Bloodshot. So if you are a Valiant fan or a Bloodshot fan in general, you're going to want to grab that. And they're anthologies, so you can pick up whichever ones you want. Speaking of anthologies, Old Dog has been on hiatus for a while, so Declan Shavli and some friends brought us an Old Dog anthology story, one shot that's just some operations that he has gone on. So if you didn't read Old Dog, this one doesn't really work if you haven't read Old Dog because you don't really know about him, but it is a great companion for those who have, because not only do you get some really good stories of operations that he went on, but you also get what happened that helped create Old Dog as the like super soldier that he is, and his connection to his daughter that we've seen in the story and things like that. So it might be worth it to pick it up and see if you like the character's voice and then jump into the series, but I definitely think that it reads better if you've already read the series and you kind of add these like 8 stories to your Old Dog lore as you go. Violent Flowers, issue 1 from Image and Maria Lovett. This is a new mini from Maria, and it is going to be so good. And as always, Maria Lovett books are definitely not for children. Please know that. But this is about a world where vampires exist, and basically one of the vampires at the very beginning is sentenced to a life underwater of punishment, and she's like, my partner would never agree to this, and they're like, well, as far as she knows, you're dead. And she's like, well, my brother would never agree to this, and they're like, your brother voted to do it. And now we have come to the future, and the vampires are meeting to find out that Nicodemus, who is the brother of that woman, has died. And what they are also discovering is that she is no longer in her underwater prison, and she may be coming for all of them, and danger is afoot, and it is going to be beautiful danger on every page, and super sexy danger on every page. And again, not for children in any way, shape, or form, but all of you adults, if you haven't ever read a Maria Lovett book, this is actually a really good one to jump in on, because it's got a good story so far, and as always, just a great, beautiful palette of art. The Manchurian. This is a one-shot, but it is a part of a really cool concept that is happening at Image. This is the creator of Good Asian writing this, and basically they came up with an idea, and it is the Horizon Experience. And so there are going to be 5 one-shots created by different people who have worked at Image before, or just working comics, I guess, and it kind of came out of the idea when everybody was like, oh, we want Idris Elba to be James Bond, and the internet kind of lost their mind and was like, we can't have a black James Bond, and you were all wrong, because Idris Elba would have been a fantastic James Bond, just so we're all clear. Oh, thank you for shaking your head. Yes, Matt. Yes. Yeah, I'm like, exactly, he would have been it. So they are going to do 5 one-shots, and one of them is a Chinese James Bond, a Muslim John Constantine type story, a family of werewolves with East African descent, an Evil Dead for black nerds, and a reverse Indiana Jones. I am very excited for these 5 books, and this was our kickoff, which was our Manchurian, which is essentially the Chinese James Bond. And so this is it's so good, by the way. This is all about this man who is essentially the spy, and what he's saying is, like, the way that, like, the intelligence works is that they are actually trained differently. Like, their job is not to actually, like, take people out and do things like that. Their job is just to listen to the gossip and get the information and kind of report back. And his job is, he is kind of one of the babysitters, and so his job is to watch over this woman who is actually getting the information. But what she does is she takes it a little too far and actually tries to download the information out of the computer from the place she works and actually steals the files. And he's like, that's not even your job. That's not what you're supposed to do. And so now the people are after her because they kind of have an idea that she might be a spy. And so he's like, I've got to fix everything that she's put together. I've got to keep her safe. I've got to figure out how to, like, make this look like it was somebody else and that there are no professionals involved here. Meanwhile, he's also kind of built this life for himself. And he's like, it's going to suck when I have to let go of this fake life that I've built because I'm actually kind of falling for it. And please, 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 just give us a full series of this story. Like, I know this is an experiment, and I know we're going to just get, like, these one-shots, but they did say that it's an experiment, and an experiment is a test, and if your results are good, you keep going. So, if you like the stories, please go online as each of these come out and, like, say, like, tag the creators, tag Image, tag everybody you know, tell your friends to buy it, because they will keep going and they will make more of these. If they know that there's people who want them, they'll continue these stories. And I already know that I want more of this story, especially, like, we know that the writing is good. You've got Terry Dodson art. Like, it's fantastic. We need more of this. It's so, so good. Please go out and grab it from your local comic shop and check it out. And then grab all 5 books from the Horizon Experiment. I'm so excited. And tell your local comic shop that you want it, too, so they know to order it. Because the order numbers is actually what the publishers look at to know if people are actually going to buy it. So tell your comic shop that you want the Horizon Experiment so they know to get you all 5 books. And just keep requesting it, because it's going to be, if they're going to all be that good, it's going to be great. Speaking of off-the-wall experiments, we've got Turtles of Grayskull, issue 1, and this is, what if the Ninja Turtles got sucked into the Masters of the Universe? It is crazy, and you've got Tim Seeley writing it. So there is so much that goes into this story. We have Michelangelo as a narrator, because as the guys come back to kind of tell Splinter, communicate with Splinter and April to tell them what's happening in this Masters of the Universe realm, they decide that Michelangelo is the only one that can tell the story in a way that anybody will want to hear it. And so we're following along as Michelangelo explains to us that these guys had been sucked into a battle where Shredder and Krang were trying to... we're basically approached by Skeletor, who was trying, like, to come up with these bad guys, and they end up giving him mutagen, and they're working together to create these ultimate bad guys who will be able to stop He-Man. And the Turtles felt responsible because that's their bad guys making things worse. So they went into the world to stop Shredder and Krang and Skeletor, and now they're kind of stuck there, and nobody knows where He-Man is, and so they're kind of they're working with, is it Man-at-Arms? And, right, yes, and they're working with him to kind of try to lead this team to stop these mutagen and, like, gross bad guys of for getting into like the castle and stealing more stuff, and hopefully find Skeletor in the process. And if you know things about multidimensional Ninja Turtles and time travel stories, you know that there is a friend that helps the turtles quite often in a lot of these comics where they have to go through time, and she's not very good at it. And so she shows up to try to help them, only to not really get them in a very good space. And so the turtles are going to go through a lot of problems, and they may or may not help the universe, but they are the turtles of the universe now. And here, you know, it's all the 80s that you could 80s, I guess.
Gen X meets Gen Y.
Right, Gen X meets Gen Y. Yeah, or like trying to teach Gen X why Gen Y loves the Ninja Turtles is really how it feels, because it's like very it's very Masters of the Universe-y. And so it's like, hey, if you liked Masters of the Universe and you don't get why the kids underneath you liked Ninja Turtles, we're gonna explain it to you by putting them all together. All right, we've got Corvus issue 1 from Dead Sky. Oh my gosh. This is an opener that opens with a lot of stuff like immediately kind of happening to kind of lead us into the story. And I love it because the guy's like all that, like, we're out in space and we're in these spaceships and we're fighting, and then he's like, this doesn't help you at all because you have no idea where in the story we are, and I should probably back you up and tell you a little bit more about the situation we're in and how we kind of got there. And so kind of takes us back to him working at essentially GameStop, and him and his friend are just kind of trying to close it up, and they're like, man, it's another like boring day. And suddenly while they're doing that, this woman shows up and she's like, essentially, come with me if you want to live. And he's like, I don't know if I want to. And then suddenly he's like transported to this past where something terrible happened to his mom, and he feels like he's being blamed for it and that it's all his fault, and he's kind of being attacked by this. And the woman, like, he's like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And then he like comes back to the now, and the woman's like, you have to put your feet in motion. And then like he like, it's like, did nobody else see that? Like, what just happened? And now there's these monstrous creatures, and she's like, it's too late. We've got to act now, or the whole world's going to be destroyed. And he's like, I have no idea how I got sucked into this, but now he's fighting some bad guys, and we're going to see where that adventure takes him. All because it was a boring day at work, and you're never supposed to say it's a boring day at work. Everybody knows that. Just stop doing that. We've got Dirt Witch from Blood Moon Comics, and this is a one-shot from them. And it is all about a kid named Randall who, when he was young, he was constantly bullied, and everybody was picking on him, and he decides that he just wants to go hang out with his friend and not really deal with it, and kind of like fall into his like D&D. That's kind of his safe spot. And while he's talking to his friend at the record shop, his friend's like, hey, I ordered this record, it's from Norwegian, yes, a Norwegian band, a metal band, and it's like death metal, and it's crazy. And he's like, okay. And he's like, and apparently everybody died when they made this record. And the kid's like, sure, okay. He's like, but I listened to it and nothing happened. But everybody knows you have to listen to a record backwards for the craziness to happen. Well, Randall decides he's gonna do just that, and plays the record backwards by himself like an idiot. And maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, but he does in fact awaken the Dirt Witch, who is a very hungry creature who just needs to feed on whatever human that can come her way. And now it is Randall's job to have to make sure the Dirt Witch gets what she needs. And if not, there's some bad stuff happens. It's a crazy great, like, it's honestly, I love that it's a one-shot because it has, all the different pieces of it. Like, we get to go back, we get to see where it starts, we get to see all the craziness in it. They made it all fit into one and still give us an open enough ending that you were like, that's how horror movies should end. Like, you didn't need to take any of the extra beats. You kind of just nail it in there. So, great job. We've got Revolution 9, number 1 from Mad Cave, opening up a very big new universe for the Mad Cave world. This is all about a woman whose code name is, in fact, Revolution 9. She is a spy who is, or I guess an assassin. She's an assassin who, when she was a kid, her and her twin sister were in an orphanage, and they were supposed to, they were constantly attacked by this person who worked there, and to save the sister from being attacked, Revolution 9, as she's known now, actually attacks the guy and kills him, and they're like, oh my gosh, we have to get the good sister away from this killer sister. So she's adopted by a nice family, and the other girl is adopted by an assassin agency, and essentially is grows up to be essentially Black Widow kind of situation. And now she's figured out the people that she works for are not the good guys necessarily, and she doesn't want to be involved in that. And so she is sent out on a mission to stop a person who is a hacker who has gotten into all of their secret information and knows all about their operation. And so she realizes that's her opportunity to also get that information. And so when she goes to save him, or when she goes on her mission to take him out, she actually decides to save him and get that information for herself. And so maybe she's going to be able to take this organization down. Maybe not, but we're going to follow along as she does it. Really great. I was really excited to see how this one played out, and it is going to be a good story as it keeps going. We've got Sherlock Holmes, the Dark Detective, Claws of the Chimera, issue 1 from IPI Comics. And honestly and truthfully, the easiest thing I can tell you is if you are a Sherlock Holmes fan, just buy this book. You don't really need to know anything other than that. But we are in one of those moments where Watson doesn't want to have anything to do with Sherlock Holmes. So it's like a Thursday, and he and Mary are married, and he's kind of living his own life trying to avoid Sherlock at all times. And a man shows up at his house who's been stabbed and is like, the red tide is coming. This horrible stuff is happening. I need to see Sherlock Holmes. And Watson's like, I want nothing to do with him, but I'll take you over there. Only to find out that, as usual, Watson has been played like an idiot, and Sherlock solves the crime very quickly. But he is, of course, drugged back into helping Sherlock with what the case actually is and what Sherlock is trying to figure out, which is dark and deadly and creepy. And Watson doesn't know how he always gets sucked back in, but he is. And it's got all your classic Sherlock Holmes moments, and you're definitely going to want to check it out if you're a fan. The Missionary from issue 1 from Distillery, and this is Ryan Steigman's Distillery book. This is all about a guy whose life isn't necessarily going his way. He gets fired from his job, and he goes to the church to kind of get some advice about how to tell his wife that he was fired, only to find out that his wife is already there and in a not so great position to find your wife in. Meanwhile, at the same time, all of the angels in heaven have been attacked by a demon and his army and have been destroyed. And there is one demon who escapes, who comes down to Earth right at the time that this guy is in need, and decides that they should bond to each other, and kind of he can help him, talk to his wife, and he can help him with a new job, and he can also help him save the world, because if he doesn't, it is all going to get destroyed. And so this issue, honestly, truthfully, reads like watching the Venom movie, because this demon is like, are you gonna take that from her? Like, there's like this back and forth all the time when like the wife is talking to him. He's like, are you gonna take that from her? And he's like, of course I am. I mean, she's right, I did get fired. And he's like, yeah, but she's cheating on you, and she's doing this and this and this, and she's just being mean. And it's just like, well, I mean, yeah, but, and he's like, I don't know. And he's like, are you about to tell her you're sorry? You better not say you're sorry. And I literally just read it in Venom's voice, honestly, 100%. But there is a big, massive war coming. There is a lot going on, and it's going to be a wild ride in the way that only Ryan Stegman could give you. And I think that Ryan Stegman is trying to like come for Chip Zdarsky in the humor level that he is putting into his stuff. All right, I've got 3 picks of the week for you. First up, I've got Mugshots, issue 3 from Mad Cave, the book that keeps continually just being such a great story. And I love everything about it. I love its art. I love its storytelling. But this is all about a man who is kind of one of those fixers in the mob situations, kind of going against all of the mob, really. And his sister has called him and said that his niece has been kidnapped, that she was dating one of the sons of one of the mobsters, and the police won't do anything about it because they're all corrupt, and so she needs him to come home and deal with the situation. And over the last 3 issues, he has kind of figured out exactly what he thinks might be the situation, only to find out that his detective skills might need a little bit more work, or there's just more going on than he ever could have thought. And so in this issue, he's kind of piecing it all together. He's bringing in some friends to help him out. He's kind of getting closer and closer to the situation. Meanwhile, the mobsters themselves are making some poor deals and some bad decisions. And kids be kids, man. And they end up making some bad choices. I do like, and I'm trying to find one, and the colors do change. While it always stays monochromatic, it's always not the same color. So it's just a really cool book, and you got to check it out. If you like crime books, this is definitely a good one to be reading, because it hits all of the genre pieces.
But the artist of Blue Book?
No, it's actually not Michael Avon Oemi. It's a completely different artist. It is Chris Matthews. I like his style too.
Darwin Cook inspired art.
Very Darwin Cook art, and I think it fits so well for the genre too to have that style. We've got Lilith issue 1 from Vault. I'm just going to tell you right now, this is going to be one of those books where I am so obsessed with the characters that the story could fall apart like in 3 issues, and I'd probably still be like, that book was so good, because I'm really just obsessed with the characters and the premise. But this is about Lilith, who is a demon, and if you know your demon lore, she's actually the mother of demons in traditional demon lore, and seems to be very similar in this. And Lilith needs to feed on people, and generally speaking, she says she tries to do it on bad people, and people who absolutely deserve it, and sometimes she just accidentally eats other people because she's hungry. And Lilith is on her way to try to find something to eat in the middle of the night one night, and ends up a young girl thinks she's being mugged and decides to help her by throwing books at the attackers, and then proceeds to be like, you're in shock, you need help, let me take you to my bookstore, and then overtalks the entire time to the point where Lilith is like, I might eat you if you don't stop talking. And then she just became my favorite character. Honestly and truthfully, this girl is definitely top 5 contenders for person I want to be best friends with in comics right now. I love her so much because she has a cool bookstore that's a paranormal bookstore. She's got some secret book that she's not supposed to have. She's now apparently going to just take in random demon succubus type women, and they're going to go on an adventure that is going to somehow be my favorite story on the shelf. I just absolutely know it. I'm so excited for this book. If you didn't pick it up, you got to grab it. It's going to be so good. I'm so excited. It's been delayed 3 times, so I'm glad it's finally here because I knew I was going to love it, and I wasn't wrong. It's so good. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what the actual adventure is. But I'm going to love it as long as these characters are on it. And then lastly, I opened the box this week and texted Matt and said I already know my pick of the week because Survival Street has returned with its latest volume, The Radical Left, from Dark Horse. If you haven't read Survival Street, I am going to order more trades because we are always out of it, and I need to get some more now that Volume 2 is out. But this is the story of the Muppets, aka Felt Americans, from essentially Sesame Street, but in their world it's called Salutation Street. And their show has been canceled because corporate America has taken over the government. The governor of Florida is now Walmart. And they cannot have PBS, and they definitely can't have a show where people teach you to have good moral values and be kind to others. So the Felt Americans from the show have become the greatest revolution that we've ever seen, and they are kind of fighting against it. And in Volume 1, they go on a lot of adventures to try to do that. In this volume, They in volume 1 they're all over Florida. In this volume they are actually in Texas, and they are trying to save some people from the robot. They're in Robot, Texas, I believe is what it is. And they are trying to save them from the robot educators who do not allow them to think or learn or do anything. And they end up rescuing a bunch of people and taking them to the only safe community that they know of, which is up in Portland, which is now being overrun by the amount of people that are being dropped there for safety. And so they realize that they are going to have to find some more places that they can help people go to if they're going to be able to continue to save people. And the team goes through some very big growing pains in this issue, and we may need to reevaluate our team stance. But it's so good. It's so ridiculous and wonderful and amazing. And if you didn't read volume 1, again, let me know and I will order a trade for you, because you have to. It was my favorite. It was one of my favorite books of the last year, 2 years ago. Sorry, 2 years ago. And I'm so happy it's back. All right, we've got a bunch of books in stock. Remote Space ended this week. This is one of those books that I said I'm apologizing to because I didn't get to finish. I'm obviously going to read it because I got to know how it ends. Power Rangers and Usagi Yojimbo crossover this week in this new title. Make sure you grab that if you are a fan of either. Todd McFarlane continues to expand the Spawn universe with a new Violator series. He is not writing that one though, but he did do some covers. Love Town issue 1 from First Comics. This is another crazy noir. I actually did read this one, but I think I'm missing like a piece of the puzzle, so I got to read some more. Then we've got Werewolf by Night issue 2. We've got Red Sonja issue 14. We've got this gorgeous Power Girl number 13 issue. I love that cover so much. We've got Outsiders issue 11. Namor number 3. There was a special Lobo cancellation issue this week. It's a one-shot for all you Lobo fans who've been wondering what he's up to. There you go. Green Arrow issue 16. Batman Brave and the Bold issue 17. We have the last Halloween in our long Halloween universe out this week. There is a free Batman Day issue that we have at the front of the store that will kind of get you started on this if you didn't pick it up. Conan the Barbarian issue 15. Daredevil Woman Without Fear issue 3. Wow. The Flash issue 13. Phases of the Moon Knight issue 2. We've got Spawn Killing All the Spawns issue 3. I just love a little chibi Spawn kind of going on in there. Chasm, Curse of Cain, issue 2. Amazing Spider-Man, issue 58. Titans, issue 15. Action Comics, issue 1069. The X-Men universe continues to expand again with Uncanny X-Men, issue 3. X-Force, issue 3. And Nyx, issue 3. We've got Zatanna, Bring Down the House, issue 4. Look at that gorgeousness. Oh my gosh. There are a lot of trades and graphic novels out this week, including the Godzilla Encyclopedia. This thing is so freaking cool. Look at this. It is like actually like got different encyclopedia pages in there to tell you all about it. It's going to talk to you about your Showa era, your Heisei era, the Millennium era, Shin Godzilla, Godzilla Anime Trilogy, Godzilla Singular Point. It is a massive book of coolness, and you're not going to want to miss it if you're a Godzilla fan. It is definitely going to be something to have in your collection. And, I have not done that yet. If you take off the dust jacket, it is actually a wraparound cover of all of the monsters. That's so dope. Oh my god. Okay, well now get it while I let you buy it, is what I should say. Because that's so cool. I'm like, if you can't find it at Bad City, it's because I got obsessed with that interior. Man, that's beautiful. And it's only $34.99, which is actually a really good price for something like that. World Tree Volume 2 dropped this week. Surviving on Mars, which looks really, really cool. The Beyond Real trade is out, so if you missed that story, you definitely need to check it out. G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, this is the new, 300 volume that's been taking place at Image, still in line with your old IDW series. This is not connected to your Energon universe. This is the classic Larry Hama G.I. Joe continuing, so even though it says Volume 1, it is actually Volume 1 because it's at Skybound, but not ever not of all time. Vile and Miserable. This is just another great little like cartoonist kind of story coming your way from Pow Pow Press, which has been putting out some really great graphic novels. When to Pick a Pomegranate. This is the new Silver Sprocket book, which I'm really excited to see, to read. I didn't get to read it yet this week because there's all those, but I'm so excited because it's Persian motifs and stories, which it's always... oh my god, I'm so excited. I just flip through it. Every time I flip through it, I get excited. And then Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy wrote a comic book, and it is out this week. This is Dying Inside. Yes, it is a graphic novel. And it has art by Lisa Sturl. So if you read, what was it? Oh my god, why can I not remember the name of the book? The witch book that I love. She also did the modern tarot deck, so that's the important thing there. But this is Lisa Sturl on art. It is so beautiful. I'm excited, and I can't wait to read it. And it's gonna be so good. And then if you are an anime fan and you are watching the recently dropped Uzumaki show, you might want to come in and grab Uzumaki, the complete manga, and see what you're loving on that show in its original format. This book is insane. It's crazy. Can I open it up and show just like something? Oh my god. It doesn't even matter what page you open to, but I don't want to crack that spine, so yeah, I was like, it's going to be hard to see with it not cracked, but I don't want to crack anybody's spine. It is such a good book if you haven't read it yet. This is like, if you're a horror fan, this is definitely top tier. If you're somebody who's like, I don't know if I want to get into manga and you like horror, this is the place to start. It's so good, and Junji Ito is known as like the master, and this is a masterpiece, so definitely check it out. This week at Bad City, Matt and I will be here on Wednesday for a new comic book day, but we will not be here the rest of the week. Alex will be watching the store with help from Santiago and maybe Barrett, but we will definitely... Matt and I will be gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Alex will be taking good care of you. All of your books will be pulled and ready for you on Wednesday, assuming that they all make it here from storm traveling. So if we have the books, I don't actually know if we will have the books, to be honest. If they make it, you will have them, and we will keep you posted on that. But we will be here for you on New Comic Book Day. There will not be Wind Down Your Weekend next weekend. Matt and I are actually going on our very first vacation since we've had Bat City. And so we will be gone for those 4 days. So no Wind Down Your Weekend next weekend. Be prepared for an ungodly amount of books when I return. And until then, Santiago will be here on Saturday to help you celebrate 24-hour comic book day. He's going to have comic panel pages and some prompts and stuff available. You can come in and work on making your own comic and kind of like see what that's like. And I challenge you this Saturday for 24-hour comic day to make your own 12-page comic, or just make a page and get started. It's all about just using that creativity. And so come by the shop. There'll be a slam piece that you can draw on and some panel pages that you can try to write on. And Santi will have some, again, prompts and tips and stuff available for you. So come play. And that is for all ages. And until then, everyone, we will see you on New Comic Book Day. Thanks again for celebrating our anniversary with us. Please, if you're in the Bradenton area, help out however you can with all of the people who are in need this week. And thanks again, Mike and Ash, for getting me the bottle. I'm so happy. And until we see you all again, stay safe and happy reading. Bye.